Brothers and sisters, one of the healthiest things you can do for yourself is staying hydrated. And you know what I'm talking about. You go to your basketball game, football game, pro wrestling events, and suddenly you get a little parched. Well, one of the best ways that you can keep yourself safe is using Liquid IV. See, Liquid IV is a hydration stick that you can pour into 16 ounces of water and immediately get more efficiently hydrated than water alone. Okay? 12 delicious, refreshing flavors, all of your essential B vitamins, including B3, B5, B6, B12, even vitamin C. 3 times the electrolytes as traditional sports drinks. It's made with premium ingredients, non-GMO, free from gluten, dairy, soy, all that good stuff there. Listen, I'm telling you right now, folks, Liquid IV has changed my life. It's something that I use on a regular basis because I'm always on the go. I gotta stay hydrated. You gotta stay hydrated. Liquid IV has your back. It'll keep you exactly that way, hydrated. But don't just take my word for it. I want you to try it out. And because of that, if you head over to liquidiv.com right now, you can put anything that you want in your cart, and then at checkout, use the promo code Duke Loves Rasslin. No spaces in that now. Duke Loves Rasslin. Going to save you 20% on your entire order. That's how much I care about your hydration. That's how much I want you to check out Liquid IV. So what are you waiting for? Shop better hydration today. Visit liquidiv.com. That's right.
Look at what we have here, folks!
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back. Welcome back to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, the show about pro wrestling and everything else. This is a special edition of the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. We have a former Ring of Honor world champion, IWGP Intercontinental Champion, former Impact Wrestling star, a man who at one time was one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling, bar none, consistently ranked in all of your top wrestlers of the year rankings and what have you. Legitimately one of the more influential wrestlers of the past 15 years by far. The one, the only Michael Elgin. Now, before we get to Mike, I do want to make sure we go over a couple of housekeeping things. First and foremost, folks, you know this is Duke Loves Rasslin. We are seriously committed to on-the-record interviews, right? And these interviews are not a takedown of anybody, and they're certainly not an endorsement either. At the end of the day, this is about getting people on the record. They are going to set the record straight, not only from their perspective, but hopefully provide some facts that can be independently verified and what have you. Me personally, I'm not here to play fact check or anything like that. It's an open mic. So if there's anyone out there who is mentioned during this conversation, if there's anyone out there who has information and that they feel conflicts with anything that is said, I will extend the open mic to you as well. You can come back on a future episode and you can provide your evidence, so to speak, and we'll let the listeners decide how they feel about the whole thing. But at the end of the day, folks, I'm committed to the truth. This is what we're going to do. I understand that the dirt sheets and the humanoids out there, they're going to quote unquote cancel me and all this other stuff, because how dare I interview someone that they have already canceled, that they have deemed unworthy of an opportunity to express themselves? How dare I do that? And to those folks, I just say to you, just shove it up your nose. You know, this is a media show, folks. This is not let me go interview my buddies and let me go try to, make so and so look good or so and so look bad. I don't care about that stuff, man. That's not serious. Michael Elgin, no matter how you feel about him, is legitimately one of the biggest names that we've seen again for the past 15 years. Why shouldn't he have an opportunity to tell the world what happened? Because most of us don't have a clue, quite frankly. There is so much information out there. There's so much doublespeak out there. I personally did not have a clue. So in this conversation, I'm going to be learning for the first time a lot of details and hopefully facts that I will then go back and independently verify and what have you. What the hell happened with Michael Elgin? Because that guy, he was on a trajectory which should have had him main event in WrestleMania at this point. That's how big he was. That's how important he was. That's how celebrated he was. What the hell happened? We know that his career certainly took a major shift, a major change right around the time of the speaking out movement, aka Me Too. And he was released by major promotions, including TNA. And there's a story behind that Michael is here to tell. So this is going to get interesting. But I'm gonna say it one last time because the humanoids are going to try to deceive folks out there and make this something that it's not. This is not a takedown. This is not a judgment. And this is certainly not an endorsement either. This is literally what happened to you, brother. Let the world know for better or for worse. And then the people can decide where they go from there. So without further ado, welcome to Duke Loves Rasslin, Michael Elgin. How you doing there, Mike?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. I got my daughter sitting beside me, getting ready to take another nap because she's pooped out from all the running around she's doing now. So I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
I can't complain, brother. We're getting to that time of the year with the holidays and all that stuff, and birthdays. I know you can relate to that. So I'm hopeful and I'm grateful. Let's put it like that. That's how I'm feeling right now, man.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's at least universal with us too. I'm hoping that everybody else is feeling the same way we are then.
Damn right. Damn right. I'm going to ask you probably the toughest question that you've been asked in a long time because I don't know. And we need to get to the bottom of this right now. Is it Elgin or is it Elgin?
So it's Elgin because I'm Canadian, right? So we pronounce things a little bit differently. And I grew up on Elgin Street.
Ah.
Yes, which is a funny story. One of my students, Tootie Lynn Ramsey, who wrestles for WOW, I took her up to Canada for a show, right? Because when I was running my school, I would try to get my students booked. So person in my hometown booked me. I said, hey, book a couple of my students. They'll come up with me. Here's what you give them. Our gas is paid. We'll stay at my mom's house. And when we pulled on my street, she goes, you live on Elgin Street? I'm like, well, kind of. They renamed it after I got into Ring of Honor. And I had her believe in it until we went out to dinner with my mom. And she asked my mom, and my mom says, no, he's always grown up on Elgin Street. I'm like, oh, man, you ruined the prestige there that I had her fooled that they renamed my street.
See that you were going to be an even bigger deal. Like, damn, my coach got streets named after him. Okay.
Well, see, that's what's funny about wrestling is like, I guess I just broke in at the time or the place where like everything around wrestling was a work, like nothing was real. And I kind of missed that because with social media and stuff, you kind of have to present yourself as a person as well, or if you don't, like I tried not to as much as I could. People then tell the story of who the person is rather than you allow yourself to tell it. So maybe that was a bad way, but you know what I mean? It's just like everything was a work growing up. I still, if anybody's ever done an indie show with Warlord in the last few years, you ask him what he's been up to. He's busy every weekend, brother. Like he's working in Germany and all these places because they grew up in a working environment and it was just different. So I was just simply trying to work her to believe that we renamed the street. That's all.
I love that. And certainly shout out to Tootie Lynn Ramsey. and her family. I were talking about this offline, but I really, really have a lot of respect for her mom. I've seen some of her posts on social media through the years. She supports her daughter tremendously, and I just love that.
Yeah,
I
I
love
do
that.
too. And, I grew up because I started so young. It's relatable because my mom was so supportive. Like I was 15 going to training school that was 2 hours away. I had to take a bus, you know, and a train. And it's like at that age, parents can be, oh, wait till you're old enough to get there yourself or whatever. But I had parents that supported me starting that young and all the ups and downs to wrestling. And even when I've been hurt, maybe you should think about something else, but that's just the motherly kind of effect of that. But having that support with your family is a big thing. So, like we said, we talked offline about this, huge, just what a great situation for not only Tootie, but her family to be in, to be like that with each other. Just, it's tremendous. Family values aren't always shining through. And when you see it, it's just, it warms your heart.
It sure does. It's refreshing because, again, we know of so many people who never had that kind of support.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't care, man. I don't care how big you get. I don't care what you accomplish in life. It does have an impact, and it will manifest in ways that are unintentional.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
So when I see that, I say to myself, well, there's a grounded person who's probably going to be all right no matter what happens in her career because she has a family that truly supports her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed.
And you can tell, just as I said, I trained her, was on the road with her quite a few times, and you can just tell she knows. I've said it to her. She's like family to me, right? Like we're setting up a time for me, my wife, and my daughter and my son to meet her and her mom for dinner. Like that's how I like rapport with people, because there is more than outside of wrestling. Like you just said, she's always going to be fine, and I'm always going to be, or look at her like almost a child. Not that she's a child, but I took the role as a trainer as I was teaching children to be better at what they love, because that helped me. And being a parent, that's a role that I take great pride in.
I love that. I love that. And it's a serious responsibility. And the fact that you still maintain that responsibility, even though you don't have to. She's on TV. She's a big star now and all that good stuff there. But you still maintain that responsibility. And I think that's a big deal. And it says a lot about your character.
Well, not only
Um,
that, like, she mentioned, I don't want to give away, but she mentioned she wants to do international stuff. So like, I know it's not cool online to support me, but I still have connections internationally and promoters and wrestlers. So, anything I can do for people like Tootie, and I still have a handful of students that I'm still very tight with. Some listen to online chatter, whatever it is, or just feel that they're, how do I put this? Even if they know better, they don't want to ever be in a situation where online can attack them, which I understand, right? But some people understand who I am and how I am and how I was with them. So those type of people, I'm always going to have their back. So I'll reach out to people for them, try to get bookings for them, whatever I can, because I remember being in that situation of not having anybody championing for me until I wrestled them, right? Like I didn't have a trainer that championed for me. I didn't have anything like that. I didn't have family friends that championed for me. I had to go out there and work and show my value to my opponent so they could then put in a word for me. So if I'm able to ever open doors for somebody that spent their money or time with me as a trainee, I'm going to do everything I can for them, because they're chasing a dream that I know how hard it is to achieve.
it's interesting to hear you talk like that, Mike, because the world is supposed to believe, at least online, this is what it's stated. The world is supposed to believe that Michael Elgin is a bad guy, and we're not even supposed to talk to him. Don't pay him any mind. Don't write anything about him. Like he's excommunicated. Don't deal with him, right?
Right.
Which is interesting because then when we hear you speak, it's like, well, wait a second. Why wouldn't we talk to this guy and hear more?
When you see somebody say those things or ignore, they're not the people that ever spent any time around me. So how would they know better? That's the thing. I think it's one of those things. Yes, there's wrestlers don't necessarily talk about me, but that's not because we don't talk privately or we're not friends privately. But I understand that online presence is important in professional wrestling. So I'm not going to ask anybody to go out of their way to say something positive about me if it's going to harm them. Because what's the good in that? I see what kind of damage lies do or people just latching on something. Like I literally saw a tweet the other day that was like, it's sad how many wrestlers still follow him. It's like, well, there's a reason why they still follow me. Because I'm knowledgeable, because I do want to give back. And because when they want advice or want somebody to check something out, they know that I'm going to be honest with them, but also have a different perspective that they might not thought of, and it's going to help them. So it's like the people that know me know who I am. And the people that don't are going to champion these type of tweets and these type of personalities that never spent any time with me or never had the decency to reach out to me and hear my side of things, right? So that's just kind of the nature of the beast. I'm sure you've encountered it as well.
Oh, 100%. I get canceled every other week, and I'm so used to it by now. It's funny. Denzel Washington a couple weeks ago said that he doesn't participate. So that's
Right.
how he avoids getting canceled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not going to feed into it. He's not going to make the world believe that that's a possibility. It's like, okay, you can trash me. You can say whatever you want. Of course, I'll defend myself. Of course, I'll set the record straight on the truth. And outside of that, I'm going to continue to live my life. You
And
know?
that's funny because I found that why people still have the online discourse about me is because I did stick up for myself. Because I didn't, and I'm not going to say any names, but there's a lot of wrestlers who said they were falsely accused, but then just, walked away and then came back and tried to say that they worked on something, did this. But like, since day one, I have said and provided pieces of information, text messages, whatever it may be, to show like, hey, these are lies. And I think that upset people more than people even accusing me. It's like, how dare you try to, stand up for yourself? And then, of course, after I won't stand down, after they try to make me stand down, then it's, you need help. Right? That's the classic line. I really hope you get the help you need. What help do I need? I'm fine. I can say something online while my daughter's sitting in my lap and we're laughing watching Miss Rachel on TV. I don't care. But I'm going to defend myself if you're going to say something that's incorrect. But people hate that more. And then it always goes to either name calling or go get help. But when you ask somebody, what help do I need? They can't tell you because they don't know anything except what was said online and you defending yourself.
What's the biggest misconception about you that you want to correct right now, right off the bat? Because of course we're going to get into a lot of different things. We're going to be going out of sequence and what have you. But if you could say this is the biggest thing that people say and it's not true because of, what would that be?
So what I think, and this is going to be weird because of some of the accusations that have been thrown out my way, but I think the one that actually really hurt me was the stuff in Japan. Because Japan, like, if I had started with New Japan much earlier, I would have never had my son. So I'm glad I didn't, because I would have moved to Japan. The second I stepped foot off the plane on my first tour of Japan, I fell in love with everything that exists in that country. And the fact that anybody would say that I would steal something, regardless of it being just in Japan, just stealing, I don't agree with. But regardless of that, then to say that I stole protein of all things in Japan, which if anybody's ever been to Japan, every dojo is sponsored by some type of protein. because they have protein in it for all the trainees and all the wrestlers that stop by the dojos to work out. So one, why would I steal protein when I had access to it? Then to say that I stole and got banned from the country, that hurts because I respect, discipline, honor, all those things are important to me. And because they're important to me, I try to be a man of integrity. Not saying I always have, not saying that I don't slip up, not saying that I haven't done things that I'm not proud of or said things I'm not proud of. We're all human and we all do that. But as a core value, I do try my best to show respect, and to disrespect a country and a promotion is not something I'd ever do. So people saying that I stole protein in Japan, saying that I got banned from the country, that one really, really ticks me off because that was my main goal. Like, people don't understand that I had opportunities to go to WWE, but I chose Ring of Honor and New Japan because those were milestones that I set up for myself. Like, those were things I wanted to accomplish in my career. And to do something like that is absolutely absurd. And I've covered it a million times. I was at an Anytime Fitness. It was before staffed hours. I was doing my cardio after I'd already lifted weights. A fight was beginning in the gym. The guy had a pull down bar in his hand and he was like going at a guy. I got off the treadmill, separated them, stayed with the guy that was not the aggressor while the aggressor left. So the aggressor left. I sat with the other guy until he got a cab. Then I grabbed my pull down bar, which I brought, which is called a mag grip. So if anybody's familiar with working out, mag grips are special orders. They're different handles on the pull down. They hit different muscle fibers. And typically gyms don't carry that type of stuff. So I grabbed that and I went back to my apartment. And then it was like almost 3 months later, like it was near the end of the tour. And this was at the beginning of the tour. This happened. Cop showed up at my apartment, asked me about a fight at Anytime Fitness. So I'm thinking, oh, they want to know what happened with the fight. They take me down to the police station. They ask about the fight. But the big thing was, I guess the guy who was the aggressor was part of the Yakuza. And since I had tattoos, they were kind of like, why are you here? And I told them, I'm here for wrestling. Do you have any affiliations with Yakuza? No. Is there Yakuza anywhere you hang out? No. And then they asked about the pull-down bar. And I said, well, I brought the pull-down bar with me from the United States. But they had already held onto my phone when they took me down to the police station. So then I had no access to my phone to show them the receipt. And because of that, they held me for, I think it was like a week and a half, maybe a little bit shorter. It's okay, baby. What do you need? And then finally, my lawyer got access to my phone. He asked me, my login to my email. He went in the email, searched MagGrip, pulled the receipt up, showed that I'd bought it in December of 2021, but the incident was in 2022, and I was let go, apologized to by the cops. And then Noah told me not to say anything online because I was supposed to come back for the N1 tournament. I believe it was October because I was going home in July, and win it because they wanted me to main event January the Tokyo Dome was happening because I had previous experience with New Japan and was pretty popular there. But then, of course, somebody from the tour, which I've heard two different names, told some website in the United States that I stole protein and was banned from the country and charged.
When you say Noah, you're talking about the wrestling promotion in Japan.
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Because that was a tour. I was over there with Pro Wrestling Noah at the time. And like I said, they had plans to put the title on me. At least that's what they told me, because of my presence in Japan was popular coming off the New Japan run. I also had that big main event with Sakimoto in 2019, which was a big deal. So it's like I had a name value in Japan and was very popular there. So they wanted to capitalize on that. And unfortunately, the story hit the news, and I even showed the messages of them on their line app about it. Like, they're like, oh, sorry, sometimes people believe what's online. So had it not gone online, the lie, I would have been back in Noah, and been their champion. But at the same time, I got to look at things because I was seeing a girl when I went over to Noah, and I've had spent 3 months of a time over there, which is what they wanted. I don't think that we would have got married. I definitely wouldn't have been in my son's life enough, and then I wouldn't have my daughter Piper. So even though it sucks to be put in that situation, to have people try to say that I stole protein in Japan of all things, I have to look at the good outcomes, because now I married a wonderful woman and we have a beautiful daughter Piper, and I see my son more than ever. So it's like there is at least a silver lining to everything that happened, and maybe that was God's plan for me. I don't know.
So just to verify, you're not banned from
No,
entering the country of Japan
no,
anytime.
no. As a matter of fact, I was going to go and do a show in February of this year, but I got injured at work in December, and since then it led to blood clots in my leg that I've had 5 surgeries from. So I was not in any position to go wrestle. And I don't know really at this point, unless the blood clots are fully go away and I don't have to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life, and this nerve damage goes away in my leg, I might never even get that chance again anyway.
But you wouldn't have been booked had you been banned from the country, because
Right.
the company
No.
would have found that out really quickly trying to do your paperwork, right?
Well, yeah, because my visa was already taken care of. Like, it takes a while to do that. So if I was going over in February, they sent me the paperwork in October. I sent it to the Chicago consulate in October when I got it, and I got it back at the beginning of December. So, like, I have my visa that I was supposed to go to Japan in February for. But, people think I was banned. They wouldn't have afforded a visa. They wouldn't have given me one had I been banned.
Well, there goes one.
Yeah, as I said, but unfortunately, I guess that one kind of bugs me more, because it's like, it just sounds so outrageous. Like, I stole protein of all things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think that seems like a very outrageous tale to spin, and how anybody believed it. I think that's why kind of it bugged me more. And of course, we're going to get into other things, because those are ridiculous as well, when people actually looked what people said about me. Unfortunately, like you said, during these movements, lists and lists of names went out. So you couldn't differentiate, from so-and-so was accused of this, and there's proof, and so-and-so was accused of this, but there was no proof. Like, nobody knew the difference, right? It just kind of lumped everybody into one category, rather than actually expressing what the actual accusations were.
Well, let's go there. Let's go there, because I know everyone listening, they're going to say, well, what about? So speaking out movement, aka
Yes.
Me Too, that happens. Big hashtag on Twitter, known as X today. Your name was mentioned. What were you accused of? And from your perspective, what actually happened?
Okay, so, this is what I think some people don't fully understand, is what really screwed me over was the actual Me Too movement, which started in 2017. I was running Glory Pro, and a student of mine was casually seeing a wrestling fan. Now, because I was running Glory Pro, I was handling all the messages that I got sent from fans on my Facebook, the Mike Elgin Facebook. Thank you. I was dealing with all that kind of stuff. Then this one fan who, I'm so excited about the shows, you bring in such great talent, blah, 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 then goes, you should teach your student how to treat people better, because he came over to my house, and when I wouldn't have sex with him, he left. So that was like the first thing that was said to me. And obviously, when somebody says that to you, I just said, look, I teach him how to wrestle. I can't control what he does outside of wrestling. I can tell people to be polite and nice, but, like, I'm not their parents, right? Then 3 months later, she starts saying that I should unbook him because he sexually assaulted her. I'm like, what? That isn't what you said 3 months ago. And then she puts out online that a wrestler, never naming them, sexually assaulted her and it hurt her so much that she needs a GoFundMe. That never went anywhere. So then she names the wrestler who was a former student, which I don't want to name because I know he's wrestling back in the area, but I don't want people to attack him. Then, because that didn't go anywhere with her GoFundMe, then all of a sudden it was, well, he sexually assaulted me and Michael Elgin covered it up. Then that got a little traction. Then it was, well, not only did Michael Elgin cover it up, but we were in a relationship and he verbally abused me. So that was the first hooray of this wild thing that I was put through. So then I sue her for defamation, win the case. People find out that she was never sexually assaulted by that other wrestler. And then she gets canceled from wrestling Twitter for being a groomer because she was grooming some young kid. So luckily I got by. That was 2018. I went through all that. And the big debacle there was she would ask me to bring Jeff Cobb into Glory Pro so she could sleep with him because I brought him into one show. And then she asked how I was tagging with him. And I said, he's not as good as people think. He just needs some more experience. But then she snips the text and goes out and says, look at how he talks about other wrestlers. And at the time, I was teaming with him. I was trying to tell him a couple pieces of advice. And I think he might have thought that I was trying to derail him or something. But I looked at it as, okay, if this is the situation I'm put in, me and Jeff Cobb, similar builds, similar styles, yeah, we're not as tall and maybe not as jacked as LOD. But these type of tag teams are big in Japan, right? Terry Gordy and Dr. Death, LOD, Road Warriors. So it's we could be something. This could be our ticket. We could be huge tag team stars. And he didn't take any advice. Instead, he did his own thing. And that's not saying that Jeff Cobb's a bad person. That's not even saying he's a bad wrestler. But I had rapport in Japan. I understood the style and was just trying to tell him little things I remember one time he was about to wrestle Goto, and Goto came in and hit him while he was on offense. So I said, next time you get a chance, go on Goto. He's like, well, I'm a babyface. I go, it doesn't matter here. What matters here is people see you ready to fight. So go in and get in his face. And he wouldn't do it. Little things like that would help him, but also help our tag team. And I wouldn't say, I think maybe at that time I took not myself, but wrestling so seriously that it offended me a little bit because I'm thinking, Jeff, if me and you become the greatest tag team that New Japan's produced over the last 12 years, that's good for us, you know? But some people in wrestling are so used to people not thinking of the unit, only thinking about themselves. And I understand. I've been in that situation where I thought somebody had the same mindset as me and they didn't. And they were really just out for themselves. But like I said, I looked at it as this was a chance for me and Jeff Cobb to become this incredible tag team. And that's how she tried to spin it. And online likes to spin things. So that was the first thing that I cleared my name of. And I think that's what opened me up to be so susceptible to the speaking out movement.
You took this to a legal level because
Yeah.
people were making accusations against you. You actually,
Yeah.
you brought
And
it
it
to
cost
court.
me a lot of bookings. I mean, the second it happened, Limitless Wrestling, AIW, AAW, all these promotions that I worked for when I was home to make money because, my son's mother wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So I took on extra bookings because I'm Canadian, right? I'm not used to paying for health insurance. But the second my son's mother wanted to stop working, that put health insurance on my tab on top of everything else I was paying because I was making more money than her. So I bought us a new house. I was paying that mortgage. I bought her a new vehicle. I was paying that car note. I bought myself a car. I was paying that car note. I was paying the car insurance on both cars. I was paying our phone bills and then getting health insurance put on, which was like $1,600 for me, her, and our son. It's like I have to take these bookings and do seminars and run the school and to make sure that not only can I afford this, but what about a vacation? To this point in my life, I didn't have a honeymoon. And I've been married twice, no honeymoons. The first time was because of professional reasons. This time was because of financial reasons. But regardless, it's like I never take vacations. I didn't do that. So I was in the realm of, okay, let's start enjoying life. Because I always looked at my duty was, okay, if the person I'm with wants to be a stay-at-home mom, then I want to be able to provide that for them. If my son needs something, I want to be able to provide that for them. My mom and dad back home, oh, they need something? Let's pay for them too, because without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So like I was responsible for my own from my own point of view for my family back home, for my at the time wife, for my son. Like I took that as prideful. Like I'm doing what I love. I get to do all these things, but I also want to say, hey, now that I've made this money, let's take a tour off. Let's ask New Japan for a tour off and go take a vacation somewhere. So it's like I was losing out on that extra money, which really helped put on savings. So I absolutely sued her for defamation.
What was the end result of that?
I won. She admitted she lied.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, as I said, when you put something online, like I would rather, and we'll get into this, I would rather people make police reports because in my entire life, one girl made a police report to me about me, which was false, which I got to prove. You know what I mean? So there was nothing done about it. But people don't understand, like, I would rather these people who accuse me of something online call the police, take me to court, something, because then people have to look at proof, right? Like lawyers and judges have to look at proof. Online, I mean, girls have said stuff and I have the exact opposite, them saying something to me via text, but I put out the text and I'm a bad guy for revealing their text, which doesn't make sense to me. It's like, no, that's the bad person for lying. Like they're lying, I'm telling the truth. They're the bad person. But somehow it all evolves. Like when my issues with TNA, it's like people were championing the company. It's like, no, they're the bad people in this situation. I'm not saying they're bad all the time. Even the accusers, I'm not saying they're bad all the time. I don't ever want to come off across like that. But the fact is, in this situation that I'm speaking about, they are the bad people.
I'm glad you brought up TNA because that is one of the more confusing situations out there.
And I
So
mean,
hopefully
that
we can clear
perfectly
that up.
goes into the speaking out movement, which was 2020, which is all when I was with TNA.
So from the TNA perspective of things, what happened? This stuff comes out online,
So
speaking
first,
out.
I think I have to talk about how I even ended up in TNA because it's all you'll see the pieces come together. So I'm in New Japan, and Don Callis is commentary for New Japan, right? So I'm obviously familiar with Scott D'Amore. He's familiar with me. I grew up in Canada. He was like the guy in Canada, So you thought, right? Then you realize that it's basically he's just the guy in Canada through fear and money, which is most powerful people in the world, to be honest, right? It's not really respect; it's fear and money. But anyway, so Don's like, "Hey, when are you going to come to TNA? Like, we want to make you a top guy." I'm like, "Oh, but I like it here." But at the same time, I was missing a lot of things for my son, right? Because New Japan had such faith in me that if they needed somebody extra for the junior tour to have matches outside of the tournaments, they would book me. So I didn't always get those tours off that most heavyweights did. So I was like, you know what? I'm missing my son's first steps. I missed his first words. I obviously feel the cracks happening in my marriage, and I don't want that to happen because most men know that getting divorced means also fighting like hell for your kid or kids. So I was like, I think it's time. So I had signed an extension with New Japan going into 2020, but I had asked for my release so that I could be home more for my son and work on my marriage. They granted it, and then I signed with Impact because they offered me the same money that New Japan was paying me, which people aren't aware because a lot of people had favored nations, so they gave me a lump sum to start and then gave me the contract that the other top guys that had the favored nations were on, which was 6 figures, but I was making a little bit more in New Japan, so they kind of gave me like a bonus to start. So I was approached by Scott and Dom. Like, they specifically wanted me to come back to be a top guy and to bring back Team Canada, because Team Canada was one of their biggest entities as a company. So then I go to Impact in 2019. And I'm about to win the title because Kenny Omega is working out a deal with Dawn to come to Impact. Kenny Omega specifically tells Dawn that he would like to work with me. So I believe it was Slammiversary in 2020 that I was supposed to win the belt at. And then I believe it was Bound for Glory, or maybe it was, I think it was Slammiversary. I was supposed to win the belt. And then when Kenny came in, I was to drop the belt to Kenny, which was we were going to work on turning me babyface because I was championing TNA and wanting the TNA belt back. And then Team Canada, that's when we would form, and it was going to be like me, Ethan Page, Josh Alexander, and the returning Eric Young. And then when I won the belt back, then they were going to turn on me because Eric Young wanted to be the top guy. That was what was laid out to me. So then the speaking out movement happens, and I don't even know at this point the accusations, because I just get a phone call from Don Callis, and he says, hey, there were some accusations said about you online. There was also accusations said against Joey Ryan and Dave Christ. We have released them. Like, we're not doing business with them anymore. But we're going to fight for you. Like, the company's going to fight for you. And that's where he said, look, I had somebody accuse me, and the company fought for me. It might take a while, but we are going to investigate this, get to the bottom of it, and clear a name. I said, okay, what were the accusations? He goes, I don't know. So then that's when I go find these accusations. Now, there was 3 things said. One, a female wrestler said I sent her an unsolicited dick picture in 2016, which is true, but there's circumstances to it, which I've said from day one. Not saying it was right, not saying that it wasn't something stupid. One of the few times I went out to drink in Japan, we had went out to dinner earlier. It was like me, her, Chelsea Green, and Viper, which is now... What's her name in WWE? Do you know?
Oh, you're talking about Piper Niven?
Yes.
Duke Drop.
When she was Viper. She was Viper before she went to WWE. So her, Chelsea Green, and this other girl from back in Ontario were in Japan. We went out for dinner, whatever, just kind of shooting the shit, catching up, because she broke in a couple years after me, and we saw on shows, and we were in different cliques. But I had matured, right? There's no more cliques. It was happy to see somebody from back home making something of themselves. And I guess I was like messaging her while I was out with the guys and we were drunk. And they're like, you can't be messaging girls. I dare you to send her a dick picture. So I literally Googled a dick picture and like sent it to her. Not saying that that's justified. I'm not saying at all. But unfortunately, the way she tried to put it online was like I was, harassing her and doing all this. I'm like, that's not the situations, because when I saw her tweet that, I asked her, and she was actually the one that informed me of how it was. And I said, if that really happened, I'm so sorry. And she said to me, well, you said sorry the next day when you were sober, but I think apologies need more than that. I'm like, what? So I admit in 2016, it was wrong for multiple reasons. One, I was married, and 2, the girl never asked for it. I 100% agree that I was wrong in that, but I said that right off the start, right? And to me, unless it was like I was just spamming people with dick pictures, I don't think that's a cancelable offense. Not saying that I shouldn't have to apologize for it, which clearly I did in 2016. The person said, the video is on my YouTube channel of the exact messages in Facebook chat with her and her saying this to me. But regardless, so that was one which I didn't take too seriously, in the fact that should I have maybe been, suspended for a little bit for that, or sensitivity training or whatever, yes, for that instance, maybe there should have been something done. But then I also look at it as like, well, if I apologize in 2016 and you're the one telling me that I was drunk out with friends, like, I think this might just be one of those things, you trying to get press off my name, which I'm kind of correct, because that person also started promoting a wrestling show like 2 months after she falsely accused, or sorry, I shouldn't say falsely, after she brought that to the public. Then the other one was a girl said that we shared a bed in 2011 and she felt my boner brush up next against her. And I tried to make a move and I thought she was sleeping, but she showed me that she was awake and not interested, and I stopped. Which again, didn't happen. But then she said years later, her friend told her that's attempted sexual assault. So the claim was attempted sexual assault, right? It wasn't sexual assault, it wasn't rape. I have emails from people who were in that hotel room, because this was 2011 in Louisville during a Ring of Honor taping, which we had to share rooms with other people, that verify that is not what happened. Now, again, I'm not ever going to hide in things that I've done wrong. What I did do was we all came in from, the night out, came in. She was getting into the bed, and I said, hey, do you want to have sex? She said no. I said, oh, okay. I should have picked up someone from the bar anyway, and went to bed. That was it. Now, was that classless of me to ask that in front of other people? Very much so. Was it 2011? Yes. That's not an excuse. It was a different frame of mind. It was a different age, and it was a different time. You can look back at things that you've done, said, and be like, man, I'm ashamed of that now. And like I said, that's 2011. So even 2020 was a 9-year difference. Now we're talking about a 14-year difference. And you look back and go, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done this. But to try and portray that as anything more vile, like attempted sexual assault, like, I think that's just incredibly ignorant and misplaced, because what about people who really went through it? Like during the speaking out movement, there was a lot of female talent who were releasing pictures of like bloodied lips and going to the emergency room after being assaulted. But it's like, you're going to say that when there's people, real victims out there? It's disgusting. And then the third one, a girl said that I was abusive because I led her on to believe we were going to have a serious relationship. I called her fat, and I cheated on her. So how did I cheat on you if I was leading you on to believe we had a serious relationship or going to have a serious relationship? And it's all weird. And I think social media took it as I was cheating on my wife, but we had separated soon after I left New Japan. I was hoping to work on our marriage, but it was too far gone. So we separated like 2 months after I left New Japan, before I even started in TNA. So it's one of those things where I think people were just were upset that they thought I was cheating, because the accusations themselves, even on face value, aren't like the accusations that people say now. You know what I mean? People will tweet at me, oh, don't you physically abuse women? Don't you sexually assault women? It's like, but I was never accused of that. So that was that whole ordeal. And again, I released all the text messages with that girl who said those lighter things. And she's the one that's trying to say sexual innuendos to me and apologizing for saying anything online, because that was wrong. So it's like, I have all the proof that's out there that shows these people lied.
So again, as it relates to TNA, how did we get to the point where you're no longer with them?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So those were the accusations. And like I said, Don called me to tell me that they were going to do all this stuff. And there is actually, a statement by TNA that you can find. I think it was June 23rd, 2020. We have parted ways with Dave, Chris, and Joey Ryan, but we'll, suspending Michael Elgin while we review these things. But then 2 days later, Scott and Don called me to tell me that they were just going to pay me my remaining of my deal, which was a 3-year deal. So we're in year 1 of a 3-year deal. So they're going to pay me for 2 more years. and not investigate, because and you can fact check this, and as a wrestling fan, you'll know 2020 was when TNA first were trying to really rebuild themselves, right? It was 2019 into 2020. Maybe mid 2018 was when, they brought in LAX and Penta and Phoenix, and they were really trying to change the public perspective of the company. Bringing me in 2019, early 2019, was one of those moves to get my press from Japan, to use me to get a working relationship with Noah, and have a guy at the top of the card that wasn't only a performer but could help other talents get better. So they say, we don't want to chance social media hating on us for clearing your name, so we're not even going to investigate. We're just going to sit you home and pay you for the next 2 years.
And you have evidence of this?
Yes. I have an email asking for the report they did, and they told me that the reason why they took me off TV was not that. And then when I was trying to take third-party bookings to keep my name relevant and show people I'm not a danger to be in the locker room, because that's another social media thing. He's a danger in the locker room. Like any of this was accused even in a locker room. It's just so silly. They emailed me to say they would release me from my contract if I wanted to keep third-party bookings. So not only did they not put me on TV, they prevented me from working anywhere else. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to go to Noah in 2021 to wrestle at their first show at Budokan in years, and I was canceled because, D'Lo Brown himself emailed me to get pictures for the work visa, and then when I was not getting my paperwork, I emailed Noah, and Noah told me D'Lo Brown and TNA canceled me without ever informing me.
Why do you think so many people have lined up to take these shots at you? Because these are not, it's not like so-and-so's a jerk. I mean, these are legitimate career killers.
Yeah, well, as I said, but when you look at the accusations at face value, it's not sexual assault. It's not rape. I didn't beat anybody. They're using the verbiage. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't around these people. I'm not saying I don't know these people. But unfortunately, when you have a movement like this, there are people who live online, okay? So, for instance, screw it. Lane Weiss, the girl who accused me of trying to sexual assault her in a bed, which, doesn't, if you even think of that, if I was a person with the mind frame to sexual assault, how would the girl stop me from doing that? Logically, just think about it. You've seen my wrestling career. You see the size of me. You see how strong I am. How would they prevent me? Number two, there is 3 witnesses that confirmed this never happened. Then you look at the fact that this girl had accused Joe Doring privately to a bunch of wrestlers, saying that Joe Doring, who is a fucking foot taller than me and jacked, used to beat her and rape her. She would tell people that Chris Hero was going to beat Joe Doring up in Japan for what he did to her. Scott D'Amore knew Lane, because Lane Weiss, if you say that name to anybody in Detroit or Windsor wrestling, she has the reputation of lying and accusing people of stuff. And then she tries to get a blog online because her family's rich and they paid her to live in New York so she could chase her dream to be a blogger. Then Jacqueline Gage, the other girl, the only reason we ever met was, if you remember, do you remember Las Vegas Ring of Honor show? 2 girls in the front row that social media attacked for being drunk and taking away from the show. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
That's one of the fucking girls that accused me of cheating on her and leading her on to have a serious relationship and calling her fat. She asked me for advice as we were going through stuff. Then she found out that me and my wife were separated. She was working at a meal prep store and brought meals to the show with me. Then asked us to, then she came to the after party. Then me and Jimmy Jacobs were supposed to split a room at a hotel. She heard the name of the hotel and said, "That's not a good hotel. Why don't you and Jimmy stay at my house, because we have a duplex and the second side is free." Jimmy said, "I'm not going to go." I went. She let me in the house. I said, "Thank you." I went and cooked some food. Then she came to check on me. I said, hey, do you mind if I have a shower? Can I get a towel? She gave me a towel. I walk out of the shower. She was naked in the bed waiting for me. And then we hung out a couple times, but then she would send me these long texts, and I was trying to tell her, like, I don't want anything serious. I'm just separated from my wife. I'm focusing on wrestling. I'm focusing on my son. If you want to hang out, great, but I'm not ready for anything serious yet. And that offended her, I guess, because I guess she thought she could change my mind, because she would fly out to shows and book her own hotel room and ask me to come up after a taping or whatever. And it's like, I've told you my rules. Like, I'm not trying to be too serious right now. But she kept pushing it. And then I would say, look, maybe we should stop talking. And this is all in the text message. It's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't just be friends. Because at one time I was like, look, obviously this on and off, seeing each other every other month or whatever, you don't like. So let's just be friends and you go see somebody else. And then she would act like she's being my friend. And then she would send a sexual text and I'd say, hey, we're supposed to be friends. And then she would say, I can't just be friends with you. You should know that. And this is all in text, you know. But as I said, I think because these movements allow people to get popular online, and wrestling fandom has become one of those things, right? Like, she could become a wrestling fan online that people recognize by falsely accusing me. And I know that sounds wild unless you know how social media works and see that people actually do get famous from doing stuff online. October's last month. I'm watching the Scream series. I'm watching Scream 4, The Killer. I forget the name of her, but she's like the niece of Sidney Prescott. She has this line, and she says verbatim, goes, don't you know how the internet works? You don't even have to be good at something now. You just have to have something fucked up happen to you to be famous. And that was Scream 4. That's like 2011, and this stuff's happening in 2020. But also, like I said, the issue in 2018, which I took to court and won, opened myself up. People were kind of giving me the benefit of the doubt because I won in court. But the second somebody said something bad, they wanted to turn it back on me. And that's just what happened. People saw an opportunity that they could say something negative about me at a time with a movement that nobody was asking questions.
You know, Mike, they say out of sight, out of mind. And you're someone that, because of your injury and because of everything that's happened, I mean, you have not been as visible as you
Right.
were at the height of your career, right? So, for literally millions of wrestling fans around the world who interact with the name Michael Elgin, they are directed to, don't touch it.
Right.
He's a bad guy. Don't pay him any mind, whatever. So that's okay. So we can't even look at that. It's a third rail. Now this interview is going to come out where people are
Well,
going to hear you.
there's still one more thing that was said about me, and this is what's wild. Before the Japan stuff, so all this stuff happens in 2020. I'm going through a divorce. I'm in a country where my family's not around. All my friends from wrestling are elsewhere. I start seeing a girl. Now, hindsight's 2020. Now when I look back, I should have taken time to myself, but I got in this relationship and this girl is telling me about her past. And I think I fell victim of, like, oh, people change, they've done stuff, they've been addicted to stuff, they've had these instances with men and blah, 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 blah. So we get together. I think everything's great. We get engaged. Then after every night that she was checking my phone, not finding anything, or seeing me talking to a girl from back home, just catching up, and her accusing me of doing something, I go, look at the message. Nothing's bad. I literally talked about you to them. I looked at her computer and phone once, and I found an array of things. We had an argument. She moved out. Then she went to Florida to visit her sister, then came back and got a restraining order against me. Now, if anybody's familiar with restraining orders, you can go and say whatever you want on them and they're going to issue, but then you go to court. Now I'm going through all these things, wrestling might be off the table. TNA is not going to fight for me. I'm going through a divorce. I'm trying to, see my son, or I'm divorced at this time when this happened. But it's like, then I'm fighting to try to get more time with my son. All this stuff is happening. Then my lawyer says, well, the other side is offered to leave this restraining order in place for 6 months. Now, statute in Illinois, I don't know other states, is 2 years if you go to court and you don't, and it's found that you're guilty of whatever the other person is saying. So then a friend of mine in Louisville, I start hanging out with just as friends to kind of heal, like she would come up and see me and I would go see her. Well, the girl that had that restraining order finds out that I'm hanging out with this person. She met this person at a show that I did before TNA told me I couldn't do third-party bookings. She then files a police report saying that I broke the restraining order and then listing all these. He forced me to do sexual acts. He gave me the silent treatment. He did all this stuff. And it's like, none of this is true. But the police report, and then she sends it to ding, 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 Jacqueline Gage, who already accused me, and if you look at all these accusations, they always say, well, just ask his ex-wife about him, who never made a public explanation but is keeping my son from me. And then you start seeing how it all adds up. And then they send the police report to Sean Rassap and other places. And they put it up because the cops came to my house, said that somebody called and said they were worried about my health, took me down to the police station. Then I asked if I broke the restraining order. Then they fingerprinted me, took a picture, put me in a cell. Then when they brought me out to question, I gave them my phone and said, look at this. And I pulled up my credit card. I said, this is where I was the last week. How did I break the restraining order? Here's all the text messages. How can she say that I forced her to do this when she's saying she wants to do this here and this and this and this and that? Then I was released, no charges ever pressed. So she used a police report saying that I broke a restraining order to say that I abused her so that she could make it public, knowing that I was never going to get arrested. But as long as she made that police report and I was questioned, she could send it to wrestling websites.
Wow.
It's crazy. And as I said, you can search. You can go on the Illinois State website, search my name, Aaron Frobel. My birth date is 12/13/86. Check it. See if I have a criminal record. I don't. I message all these dirt sheets, said I will pay you to do an FBI background check to verify I was never kicked out of Japan or in trouble in Japan. Nobody took me up on it because news cycles work when it's negative, right? Like that's what gets the clicks. That's what gets it. All this, that's why they have these clickbait, so-and-so wrestler says somebody did this to them. And then you read it and it's like a storyline. It's all clickbait. It's all meant to get views and make people look bad. And that's what they did. And unfortunately, these people took advantage of movements that I believe are very just. Because there are terrible men out there. There are terrible men that I have fought because of how terrible they were. And there's other wrestlers that can verify this, but yet I'm the bad guy. And I think that's what kind of hurts is like, I'm the exact person that if we're at a bar, okay, I'm in Nashville in 2019 for my birthday. My friend is booked from Canada on the same shows I'm in. Haven't seen her in a while. We go to a bar. Some guy grabs her arm, starts to be rough with her. I knock him out in front of the bar. That's who I am, But I'm the danger. It just doesn't make any sense.
We covered a lot. When it comes to the listeners, as I was saying there, especially these wrestling fans, what's the one takeaway that you want them to have from this interview?
I think before we even get to that point, Duke, we got to talk about something that you brought up to me, the Kevin Steen show.
Well, that's a good one because I'll tell you, and I was pretty straightforward about this.
And I appreciated that.
I told you, I said, listen, my impression outside of the ring of Michael Elgin is largely shaped by that some podcast interview that I heard you do a while back, where you didn't come off very nice. You
Right.
came off like a jerk. You were making jokes, and it sounded like you were being disrespectful, especially to women. And I just walked away from that saying, "All right, this guy's a jerk," and that was the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said that to you, and here we are now, brother. Let's share the response that you gave me when I said that.
Yeah, and I want to say that on face value, I agree with your assessment because the Kevin Steen show was in 2013. And please chime in if I'm incorrect in anything I'm going to say. 2013 was where shoot interviews and like podcasts started to become relevant again, right? Colt Cabana with the Art of Wrestling podcast. Now think back, if you can remember in 2013, who got the biggest press off of being on the Art of Wrestling podcast?
Ooh, 2013. So
Cliff
this is before.
Compton.
Yep.
Remember? What was the nature of his story?
Oh my God! Because this is before the punk stuff. Remember, I was going to say I was going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
This is before the punk stuff because
Right.
you're saying 2013.
Cliff Compton literally got into Ring of Honor because he got so popular after telling sexually orientated stories on
Yep.
the right. Am I right?
Talking about rats and all that stuff.
Right.
Yep.
So listen, popularity came from that because it was. I'm not saying that it was correct. I'm not saying that it's the right thing to talk about. But in 2013, society was different. Wrestling was different. I can't speak towards Cliff Compton stories, but shoot interviews, you said something controversial for the preview, then people bought the DVD, then you saw money off the DVD sales. So the more sales that the DVD gets, the more money you end up making. So if you say something controversial and that gets put out, people buy the DVD. But if people go back and watch that whole DVD, that's only one section of like a 2-hour interview, right? Now, before I even tell you the truth about the story, I am not saying that I did not enjoy the company of women when I was single on the road. I absolutely did. Does that mean that I was mean towards them, cruel towards them? No. If I ever met a girl before I got married to my first wife on the road, I would tell them, I'm only wrestling in town. I don't know when I'll come back. I don't know if I'll ever see you again. And then it was up to them what happened next. But in this story, I was talking about an experience in 2006, I believe, maybe 2007. We went up to Timmins, Ontario. We were driving up in a van. We were drinking. And one of the wrestlers, this isn't bad. And I think it was a joke. But one of the wrestlers, Eric Young, was in the car. And he made a joke saying, man, I would give somebody $100 if they could get a girl to let them pee on them in the heat of passion. And then everybody's like, what? He's like, yeah, like them like really wanting you to urinate on them because they're just so into you. And it was like a joke conversation, like, are girls really into that type thing? So then we have the show. We go to the after party. Myself, my roommate, and another wrestler. The two wrestlers specifically were Tarantula Gomez and Otis Idol. Probably nobody's heard of them except old Ontario independent wrestling, right? We pick up 3 girls from the bar. We take them back to the hotel room. The door was left open. Some of the wrestlers did walk into the room, laughed things off, and then left. Cody Deaner being one of them, so he can verify because he was in there later too. After things have calmed down, Otis Idol and one of the girls went into the shower. Cody and a couple other wrestlers brought some beer to our room. The girls were dressed, we were dressed, whatever. Then we hear from the shower, like from the bathroom, Otis yelling, hey, where's Eric Young? He owes me $100. I just peed on her and she loved it because they were in the shower, right? So that was the true tale. And like I said earlier in this interview, everything's a work to wrestling. So you over exaggerate stories. I'm not championing Hulk Hogan for the comments he made, but when everybody goes, he's such a liar, like, no, he was accustomed to saying he worked 400 times a year because that made him Hulk Hogan and a star. Was it lying? Yes, but to him it was working. So I over exaggerated this story, made it more complicated, saying that I was in the room with two girls at once or three girls at once, and then the roommates come in, and then I wanted to win the $100, so I got this girl to let me pee on her, and people turned it into something that wasn't. Because remember, this video is 2013. When did I win the Ring of Honor World Title? 2014. When did I go to New Japan? 2015. When did I beat Kenny Omega in a ladder match? You know what I mean? Like, it never affected anything, but people then go back and say, oh, he said this, he must be a bad person. And I agree, I should have never said that story. It was classless, it was tasteless. But I am also looking at, I was, 26 at the time, trying to sell DVDs. Society was different. Like we just covered Cliff Compton's sexual stories on this podcast. TV shows, movies, all did these type of things. I mean, if you even just look back at the movies, not necessarily released at those times, but that people liked at those times, could Wedding Crashers ever get made today?
Oh hell no! That
Right? That's
not even
sexual
close.
assault, right? Like that's sexual assault. They go to a wedding, fake to be somebody else, and sleep with a girl. But at the time, I would say it was one of the most popular comedies, especially with my age group at the time. American Pie, all of them, right? Like I'm not trying to justify saying the story. I think it was incorrect. I think it was wrong. But I'm saying looking through the lens of a 26-year-old or 25-year-old, I'm not doing the math right now in my head. And how society was, it was just a different time. But there's the truth to the story. Should I have said it? Absolutely no. If I face any consequences for telling that tale, I agree that I should. But it would be something if I told that story and then I got sued from the girl that it happened with because she, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much more to it that people don't understand. So, like, that's all. But all through my career, people have said stuff like I was the first one to sign an exclusive deal with Ring of Honor. And I made a comment that, oh, I have weekends off now, so I've been playing softball, and it reminded me how much I love baseball. And then there's this free tryout in Cincinnati that I'm thinking of going to. And people thought like I was leaving wrestling for baseball. It's like, no, no, no. I now am only wrestling with Ring of Honor, so I have weekends open for the first time in my adult life. So I just want to do things. Am I going to make the MLB? Hell no. But as a kid who liked to play baseball, if it's free and it's with driving distance, sometimes you just have to do stuff because you want to do it, right? I mean, CM Punk went to the UFC. I don't believe he ever thought he was going to win, but it was something he wanted to do. Sometimes you just do things. But people spin everything out of control. It's insane.
Insane indeed. Jesus, what a life, man.
Yeah, man. And you know what? As I said, when I look back at it, it's okay, baby. When I look at it, it's one of those things where it's like, I would love to still be wrestling. I would love to be on WWE TV. But had anything been different, would I have this little baby girl in here that warms my heart? Would I be seeing my son as much? Would I have been with my wife that I probably would have never met had I not stayed in this area? You know? So it's like some things suck. Unfortunately, this injury is where it's at. But I would have liked to still be wrestling because I made six figures for a long time, which, especially in today's economy, is very helpful. And it's a struggle now, you know. I've been off work all year because of this injury, waiting for workman's comp. And I'm sorry, I got to pick up my daughter 1 second. It's okay, princess. I know you're sleepy. You're sleepy. It's okay. You can sit with me. You want some more of your bubba? No? Oh, you're that cranky, huh? Okay, well, we're about to wrap up. Okay, baby? Okay, sorry. Daughter's getting a little sleepy again. You want the phone, don't you? But yeah, it's just nuts. It would have been nice to still wrestle. This injury sucks. And it would have been nice to not have that because I should have a wrestling school. I should be able to at least have a chance to be a trainer or an agent for WWE. Oh no! Oh no! Really? Are you saying hello to people?
Hello.
Sorry, no, my daughter muted it.
Oh,
But yeah, so it would have been nice to not have this online discourse, and I think it's going to change because there is people out there that know the real me. Oh, and you're giving me an opportunity to speak from the heart. And hopefully some people, yeah, yeah. Is that true? What do you want? You want some yogurt? So hopefully some people's perspective changes. And I don't expect it because online discourse is online discourse. And there's always going to be haters. And there's always going to be people that try to benefit themselves on the backs of other people.
so again, with the folks listening, what do you want them to take away from this?
I hope that they give me an opportunity to be heard. They hear what I'm saying. Don't even take my word as gospel. Look into everything. Go on Twitter and ask Grok. Check my YouTube page. Check my Twitter page. Check anything that I posted as far as evidence when it comes to these things. And not only that, know that I loved pro wrestling so much that I gave my body to it, my heart to it, my time to it, my effort. And I'm just happy that whether you're a fan of me or not, that you're a fan of pro wrestling. It's okay, baby. It's okay. It's okay.
Folks, this is it's a pretty emotional episode.
I'm glad, and I don't mean to cut you off, but because it is emotional, I'm glad I'm in a place where it's not okay, but it's okay. Does that make sense? Like, it damaged a lot in my life. I mean, I had to sell every wrestling toy I ever collected from when I was a kid. I sold my car that was my dream car that I had pride in doing that because I got to purchase my dream car, which wasn't a Ferrari or anything. It was a Challenger. But like, I got to do that from wrestling and it was taken away from me. And I believe unjustly. And there was a point in my life where compounding issues, the wrestling, my son, all that type of stuff, everything that was happening. I really didn't want to live at one point, but I'm glad that I fought through that. I met my wife. I have my daughter. And emotionally, I can look back and be more fond of the good things from my career. Like you said, whether people want to admit it or not, ever since that Davey match in 2012, I was probably the most influential power wrestler of my generation. I did accomplish some amazing things. I got to go to places I never imagined I would go. I set goal for myself. I told my friend in 2002 when I started that I was going to be Ring of Honor World Champion and I was going to wrestle in Japan, and I did that. So now, at least as emotional as things used to be, I can look back fondly on the great things. And I'm also in a place now that I can watch wrestling freely and enjoy it because there were some years where I couldn't.
Well, folks, that was Michael Elgin on the record, detailing his perspective on the controversies that derailed his career. We thank him for taking the time to speak with us here. Wow. Look, we're coming up on 10 years of doing this Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. And you folks know there's been other shows as part of the umbrella of Duke Loves Rasslin, of course. Over 1,000 people I've interviewed over the past decade. I've heard it all. I can honestly tell you it doesn't get any easier to hear somebody who that they had the world in their hands and then suddenly it was all snatched away. And what's interesting about the Elgin situation is that this guy fought back. He took people to court. He won. He's posted text messages and emails and things like that. He never remain silent, which is interesting. Most people, especially image consultants and crisis management consultants and what have you, they'll tell you to just lay low, don't say anything, get an attorney and let them put out statements, and they're robotic and things like that. This guy never did that. Whether you believe him or you don't want to believe him, whether you like him or you can't stand him, whatever. This guy did not lay down. He fought. And I just find that interesting. He said, hey, if you got something, sue me. Take me to court. File a police report. Let's go. And he said because he wants to get to the heart of the truth, and he wants the truth to be made public, because the accusations and the tearing down of the reputation and the snatching of the career was done in public. Personally, from a media ethics standpoint, I got a hard time with the pro wrestling media landscape, because the majority of these folks, it's very clear that they do not care that they're talking about real people with real lives and real consequences. The least you can do is pursue the truth and try to get it right. Especially when developing information comes out, when new evidence comes out, the least you can do is pursue the truth and try to get it right. If somebody wins in court, you should be reporting on that as loud as you reported on the accusations. That's my opinion. To me, that's how you show that you're neutral and that you're just focusing on being media, as opposed to a dirt sheet, a dirt rag, a sensational thing, as opposed to trying to settle personal scores because you have a made up issue with people. It's very strange to me. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I know that it's part of the reason why these same folks give me a hard time personally, because they know I'm going to hit record and I'm going to put the mic in front of somebody who wants to be here and say their piece. And then you, the listeners out there, will decide the record, right? You'll decide where you land on that. I'm not telling you to believe Michael Elgin. I'm not telling you to not believe him. I'm not telling you to like him or to dislike him. I'm just telling you to just take a look at the facts and let that guide your opinion on this person. So again, Duke Loves Rasslin. The mission is simple: provide open, on the record conversations with figures in the pro wrestling world and MMA, of course. Allow them to share their stories. This episode, like all of our episodes, it's provided for an informational and historical context. No matter what happens going forward, this piece will live forever, that people can go back and reference, right? Again, it's not an endorsement, nor is it intended to minimize the pain felt by anyone involved in any public controversies, discussed or otherwise. Nothing like that. As I stated from the top, the mic just remains open, man. So if you were named or referenced in any way in this episode and you wish to share your perspective or refute any claims made by Elgin, then please reach out. I'm a pretty easy guy to get in touch with. And I'm committed to providing a balanced platform for all parties. That's the point here. But I'm going to tell you, come with the facts, man. Because if there's one thing that we know on this show, people are going to listen, people are going to discuss it, and people are going to do their research. And if there's something that was said that was out of place, people are going to jump all over that and highlight it. So if you're coming here, please come with the facts. Please. And if you don't have them, and this guy actually is telling the truth here, and it is verified, then why are we canceling this guy? That's a question. If what he's saying is true, which he can't make up the court records, it's very easy to look up. Either he's banned from Japan or he's not, which I'm sure he can provide the evidence to show that he was booked. So how could he be booked if he's banned, all that good. If this guy is telling the truth for the most part here, why are we still canceling this person? It's a question. Feel free to discuss it in all your forums and all that good stuff there. Dirt Sheets, you better quote it right. You better quote it right. I've given a disclaimer at least 10 times now, so you better quote it right because I'm going to be all over you on this. It's just the way it is. Anyway, as always, folks, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. That's right.
Strictly for the culture every day. Stepping style in your unique way. Patterns and colors so defined. All about the perfect line. Be yourself, let your spirit fly. In this fashion, you'll touch the sky. Strictly for the culture, brand so fine. Dress to impress and show your shine. Strictly for the culture, every day. Step in style in your unique way.
Visit www.strictlyfortheculture.ca.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Rasslin.